Andrew Block asks, what is the best method to getting a star sunburst in your pictures? He's shooting at f/18 and just isn't having much success. So there are a lot of factors that go into this, to knowing what is going to create the star effect correctly. One, he's already identified as the aperture. The other is just the lens itself. Some lenses do this better than others. And the third that I can think of, at least, is where the sun is placed in the frame. Sometimes you'll get a lens that it's making a nice effect in one area, but if you put the sun a little bit more toward the edges, it has kind of a weird sun flare coming through the frame. How about you, Nick?
Yeah, and another thing is, like, if the sun is really high in the sky and it's really really just overpowering and bright and stuff, it doesn't make as pleasing a sunstar as it does when it's lower on the horizon and it's like in that last little bit before it goes over the horizon. When it's shooting through the atmosphere and during sunset, it's not nearly as powerful and strong and overpowering. And when it's not quite as overpowering like that, it makes a much more pleasing sunstar, and it's not like completely just overpowering your shot. And another thing that you can do is to partially block that sun, either with a tree limb like he mentions or the horizon. When it's just partially cut off, that sunstar will overlap whatever it is that's kind of that it's crossing back behind, and that will make that sunstar more apparent than when it's just in the bright sky. So kind of partially cutting it off, waiting till it's low on the horizon and it's not super overpowering. Those are the best times that I find to do a sunstar type shot.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. In fact, I just had a situation this week where I was doing that. I was in Glacier National Park shooting with some readers of Improved Photography on a free meetup. And we were shooting, that kind of classic shot of the aspen trees in fall color, and you have the sun kind of peeking through the limbs, and it was that, like, you move your camera like a smidge, like half an inch left or right, and it makes a very different sunstar effect. And so it's nice when you have, as the sun is going down over a mountain, something like that, you gotta fire because that sunstar is going to change dramatically just in seconds. But again, if you open up your aperture, if you shoot at f7, you're just not going to see a whole lot of a sunstar. We're talking about shooting f14, f16, and try it. Try everything from, f14 to f22 and see what it looks like on that particular lens. So let's talk about a couple lenses that we have had good experience and poor experience with sunstars. For me, the best sunstar ever lens is the Fuji 10-24. It's awesome, which is good because it's the only landscape lens in the Fuji system. It's very convenient that way, but it does really, really good with sunstars. The Nikon 16-35, I did not have such good success with. Just doesn't make that pleasing of a sunstar, to my opinion, and is all, just what you think looks good. The Tamron 15-30, I think, does awesome with sunstars, and it's less expensive than the 16-35. How about you, Nick?
Yeah, on the Canon system, the 16-35 version 2 f2.8, excellent sunstar. It's kind of it's seen as like the best sunstar lens. And then I have my my mid-range one, which is my 28-70L lens, and it's just a terrible sunstar. And another thing to consider is like your focal length. If you're trying to do it with a telephoto lens, telephoto lenses are typically just really, really poor at creating that sunstar because they spend so much effort in trying to get the bokeh really round and pleasing, that a sunstar is kind of the exact opposite of that. So you're usually looking for a lens that doesn't have rounded aperture blades, kind of old school in that regard, which makes a telephoto lens pretty poor at creating a good sunstar. So 16-35 on the Canon side is awesome for sunstars.
There you have it. That is how we would create a sunstar. It is something to really keep in mind when you have that sun in your photo, especially as sun setting in a landscape, something like that. But also, just remember to keep the size of the sunstar in control. Sometimes the first few times you do it, especially, it's like, look how big I can make this sunstar
Right.
just huge, and it's just kind of overwhelms the photo. So
Mm-hmm.
sometimes you do want to kind of hide it, wait till it's just slightly covering the mountain or something like that, so that it can just control. It's nice to have a sunstar, but don't get huge with it.
And for those people that are not afraid to like do a little bit of heavy lifting when it comes to post processing, sometimes I will actually do a sunstar frame where I will shoot the scene at like f11 where my lens is sharpest, but then maybe let's say I want to get a more pronounced sunstar, I'll stop down to like f22 and then change my shutter speed so I have the same exposure. But at f22, I'll get that really pronounced sunstar, and then I'll blend those two photos where I get the nice sharp landscape from the f11 shot, and then blend it with the f22 sunstar, and then I'm all fancy and stuff. So if you're not afraid to, use layer masks and blend a couple different shots together, doing a frame just for your sunstar can be an option as well.